Finally, Curtis kisses his brother's head and exhales deeply, as if to say, "Okay, that's what I needed. Let's do this thing." As I prepared to board the plane for the final leg of a busy week, I received a text from Tim. He's a good friend who had some heartbreaking news. His neighbor's son had been involved in a terrible car accident just a few weeks earlier. The boy, just 8 years old, had suffered a massive head injury and was not expected to survive. The boy's parents had heard of my story, were inspired by it, so Tim asked if I might be willing to encourage them. I texted back right away and asked for their mailing address so I could send a note and a care package. After landing 4 hours later, there was a detailed message from Tim providing the parents' names and phone numbers, the mailing address of the hospital where their son, Curtis, was being treated, and I stared at my phone in shock. The hospital was Memorial Hospital in Jackson, Mississippi. A chill went down my spine because my plane had just landed in Jackson, Mississippi. It's a city I'd never even been in before. I knew at that moment that this trip was about something much bigger than a speaking event. The following morning, I went to the hospital where Curtis was being treated and practically walked right into his parents, Adrian and Brad. They were anxiously awaiting Curtis's return from yet another surgery. We sat down and we began to chat. I learned that Curtis had been fighting for his life for the previous 3 weeks. He was still in critical condition, still had extensive swelling on the brain. He still had not shown any real signs of life or purposeful movement. And the prognosis was that if he did pull through, there would be severe cognitive delays. He may never speak again. He'd likely never see again. And then Adrian, the mom, countered, "They can say what they want. I just want my son back. Regardless of his condition or how different he might be, I want the chance to keep loving my boy." The conversation then shifted to his younger siblings, who still had not seen their older brother. Brad and Adrian were concerned how the little ones might react when they saw their big brother. So I shared with them that at about the same age that Curtis was, I spent 5 months in a hospital bed, and that no matter how severe my physical pain might be, how deep the sorrow was, or how intense my fear was, I knew that once a week on Sundays, my entire family would come and they would visit me. I looked forward to those visits all week long. While everyone else was afraid to touch me, my older brother Jim would come right in. He would hug me every time he entered the room. My sisters Katie and Amy and Susan, they took turns gently rubbing my back to alleviate the pain. I remember being in my wheelchair, unable to move, when my 2-year-old sister Laura came running down the hall of the ICU, ignoring the admonishing nurses, climbing up into my lap, and snuggling up against me. Those siblings of mine gave me a palpable sense of belonging, and that sense sparked by their visits just might have saved my life. I encouraged Curtis's mom and dad to allow the siblings to visit. They thanked me for the advice. We exchanged phone numbers, we hugged goodbye, and promised to stay in touch. And that was that. Until the following weekend when I got a text from Brad. "Hate to bother you on a weekend. I wanted to share this video." I eagerly clicked play and my screen began to show Curtis in an oversized hospital bed, blue helmet on, acting a bit agitated as he was being encouraged to sit up. The effects of his brain injury are evident. He still can't speak or see. He doesn't smile, but it is clear he can hear the instructions of his parents. He is moving now on his own. From behind the camera, I hear Brad saying, "Curtis, your little brother and your little sister are here to see you." Curtis's brother, age 4, and sister, age 6, have been placed right next to him on the bed. Curtis blindly reaches out his right hand to find his siblings. He feels the body of his brother and then reaches up to touch his face. As his hand feels the bangs of his brother, then his nose, a small smile of recognition appears on his face. Curtis then rubs his 4-year-old brother's face up and down, up and down, up and down, smiling all the while. And the entire time there's a look of peace, of comfort, of connection on Curtis's face. Overcome with emotion, Curtis stops patting his brother's face and he uses his hand to begin wiping tears from his eyes. Off camera, there is the sound of crying from the adults in the room. It's an intense moment of pure, unscripted, unconditional love. After wiping his tears and composing himself, Curtis turns his head to his right, unable to see, but with the perfect vision of his heart, he begins waving excitedly at his little brother, who sheepishly waves right back at him. The two continue waving at each other until Curtis reaches out, grabs his brother by the neck, pulls him in close, and cuddles him tightly for 10 seconds. Finally, Curtis kisses his brother's head and exhales deeply, as if to say, "Okay, that's what I needed. Let's do this thing." A couple weeks later, Brad sent me another video. This one was of Curtis sitting up, trying to tie his own shoes. Stunningly, his eyesight had returned. Not long after, Brad forwarded yet another video, this one of Curtis speaking to his mom. And the last video he sent shows Curtis and his little brother playing catch in the backyard of their home in Louisiana. Adrian got her wish. Curtis came home. How could this have happened, though? Well, the medical community can't explain it. The skeptics may call it simply good luck. Cynics may say that Curtis wasn't that seriously injured. After I chatted with his parents, we believe it's the healing presence and the healing power of God's love. And sometimes that profound healing occurs through the innocent, accepting, life-affirming, simple touch of others. My friends, we need to remember the curative power of a cuddle and the amazing effects it can have on our body and on our psyche. We need to recall the potential a hug possesses to help us share our burdens, reminding us that we are not alone and that we belong. We desire to be heard. We want to be known. We pray to be loved. And we want to belong. Without true connection, we will wither away and we will slowly die. But in the book, In Awe, I'll teach you to embrace true connection so that you can survive, sustain, and thrive together.